Hello everybody, so today I want to look at another force node, and this time I'm going to look at the pop wind. So we looked at the pop force in the last lesson, and if you remember it had these noise variables that we could add, and it had this force here that we looked at. In this particular case it gave this effect. Now if you remember, the amplitude was the speed of the whole noise pattern, and the swirl size was how they group together, how much they managed to group together, and of course the pulse length was how quickly it manages to change position, move around. Okay, if you're not sure about that, please go back to the previous lesson and I discussed that in more details. But the wind one, let's take a look at this. So the pop wind. Alright, so if we look at the difference between this one and this one, there's not a lot different, is there? The noise is the same, alright, and the only difference you'll see, instead of force, I've now got this wind velocity, and then I've got this speed and air resistance. So let's quickly talk about what those differences are. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to add the wind velocity. What did I have in the last one? I think 3. Yeah, okay, so let's also create this as 3. Okay, now let's take a quick look at that, try to remember what this one looks like, and now take a look at the pop force, see what this one looks like. Oh, let me actually remove the noise off this. Okay, alright, now you may or may not notice a difference. Let's see. Okay, now you might see it. Alright, hopefully you can see that. And the difference, of course, is that this one, the pop wind, seems to go a lot slower. And it does. The difference is that it doesn't really accelerate. This one accelerates over time, the pop force. The pop wind does not. Its target is to get to this 3. That's its target, and once it gets there, it doesn't go beyond that. So if you look at the beginning, there is a slight acceleration. There you go. And then once it gets to speed, it's all good. Okay, that's nice. Now I can make that go in any direction I want using these numbers, of course, and I have this wind speed which will act kind of like a multiplier for that. So let's say I increase that to 2. Okay, I can see now that it's much more quick, so it acts like a kind of a multiplier for this without changing its direction. Okay, but I'm just going to keep that at 1. It's going to make that a bit easier. And exactly the same, I can just add my amplitude, okay, and I can add this noise to it. This kind of looks a bit more natural for the real world, because this is, you know, because of the atmosphere and the environment that we live in, this is probably going to be a bit more accurate to what we would see. So there's also another part to this though, and this is the one here, which is the air resistance. Now you think that this kind of acts like a dampener for it, like some kind of resistance to that, and it does. But let me show you what happens if I increase this, right? I think there's going to be more resistance, right? And yet there isn't really. Okay, let's take I'm going to make this maybe a bit more Mr. Speedy. Let me see on that. Okay, so there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of resistance going on there, but if I decrease this to a really low number, now it goes more slowly. So this resistance is kind of a bit messed up. I'd have thought increasing the number would increase the resistance, but it doesn't. The lower the number adds resistance, and the higher the number decreases that resistance. Okay, and all it's doing is it's slowing it down in order to get before it can get to its target velocity, which in this case would be 6. Okay, now just to give you an idea of what they look like with exactly the same numbers in, I think I'll go 3. Let's maybe go 3 here too, and I'm going to do the same one here. So I'm going to go 3. Let's make this 1. 3 and 3. Okay, so they're basically, I think, the same now. Yeah. And so we can now check the difference with the noise. So let's do that. Alright, so you can see how that really starts to push along there, right? With that acceleration. And let's take a look at it now with the wind. Okay, similar pattern in a way, but you can see how it doesn't move as fast. Okay, so there's quite a difference between them, but in the same time they're very similar to setup, but the output is going to be quite different at times. So you really need to work out which one you need. Do you need an accelerator or not, is basically the question you need to ask yourself, and then use the correct one appropriately. Okay, any questions, put them below. I hope that was useful, and you guys have a great day.